You're listening to the Informal Mystic Podcast, your destination for mind-bending conversations that explore metaphysics, energy medicine, and mysteries of the universe. I'm your host, Blair McDaniel. Hi friends! This is part one of a two-part episode where I sit down with my friends and fellow energy healers, Jen Howard and Kim Ray. We really go all the places in this episode, and I'm super excited to introduce you to their medicine and just our stories, and really glad to have you here. This season has been so much fun, and as we're coming up on the last episode next week, I'm just really grateful to have had all the listeners, all the plays and the shares, and just really thankful and grateful that you guys tuned in and listened to me and my friends talk. So without further ado, here is part one of that two-part finale. Welcome back to the Informal Mystic Podcast. Do I have a treat for you? In-house, we've got already off to a ratchet start. In-house, we have Kim Ray with Rooted Alchemy. She does herbalism, energy healing, food as medicine. She got the good vibes. And then we have my mentor, my friend, Jennifer Howard of Gaia Heals.
Hello.
And y'all know what she does. Wait, maybe you don't. Okay. Jen does energy medicine. She does a lot of cacao. Bad. Not cocaine. She does cacao, a lot of cacao. She does cacao circles, but she's got herself a little addiction to cacao. She can't go a day without it.
A little bit.
What else do you do, Jen? She works at a holistic medical clinic in Indiana, Southern Indiana.
I do one-on-one energy healing sessions there. I am, what do we call that? A ceremonialist. Yeah.
Okay.
The
yeah,
cacaos,
we can get behind that.
But I also do a lot of activations, energetic activations, like the red Kundalini release, the soul grid activation, Christ consciousness activation, unity activations. So a lot of fun group work. And I also channel a master healer named Vishu, who helps me in my healing medicine. I think that's it.
Okay. Kim, can you give us a little rundown on what you do?
I do energy healing sessions as well as nutrition counseling and intuitive herbal readings.
Cool. Perfect. So we decided to put a little feeler out there on the Instagram, and we got some questions to answer just about like general energy therapy, energy healing themes. So let me get started. Do you all have any questions about what we do? Is this shit real?
Is it real?
Are we faking it?
What is life?
How could my emotions possibly give me an autoimmune disease?
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we could launch there if you want.
If you have 3 energy healers sitting in a circle and you can ask us any questions, this is what we put out into the ethers, aka Instagram world. What questions would you ask us? And so this is what we got back. So you just want to start with one of them?
Yeah, we'll just start with one of them. And then if you want to kind of round back around to that emotional autoimmune connection, that's really important because I find that a lot of my clients, and I don't know if you guys are the same, a lot of my clients have manifested an autoimmune illness.
Absolutely.
Especially the women.
It's a pandemic, and women are absolutely disproportionately affected.
Absolutely, because we have the emotions. I mean, that sounds a little sexist. Men, you don't have any emotions out there. Sorry, guys. Tune in next podcast. No. The experience of a man and the experience of a woman is just such a different thing in this culture. And I do feel like women are more in touch. They have a little bit of a easier path to their emotions. So yeah, that would be what I mean by that. Not that men
There's
don't have
an
emotions.
element of disempowerment when we talk about autoimmune disease. It's the body actually fighting itself. So let's break down the mechanics of how that works. We're like eating and feeding off of ourselves, and it's this inability to be empowered internally and speak into being our desires and creating the lives that we want.
Okay. Yeah. That feels true to my experience.
Yeah,
Probably true to your experience.
it is. The women who run with the wolves.
How many run with wolves? Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I have talked, and it might be Estes, but my maiden name is actually Estes, so I always say it like Estes, like we're related. Me and Clarissa. Sarah Thanksgiving. Sarah Thanksgiving. She's doing fine. But yeah, that's like should be required reading for all people everywhere, but especially women.
Beautiful. If you are a woman and you do suffer from autoimmune disease or some kind of chronic illness and you feel overwhelmed, read her book and it will become a Bible to you. You won't sit down and read the whole thing in one sitting. You'll read 10 pages at a time. You'll have to put the book down. You'll have to integrate it. I think I've been reading it for 7-8 years.
Yeah.
But
it really is like a Bible.
It is. You have to slowly consume it because there's so much meat to it. And one of the most pivotal moments that I've had with that book was when she articulated that it was very manipulative and smart for the domestic role to be given to the women because it never ends.
It really don't do it.
Never ends.
Yeah.
And so your work, there's never a hiatus, and our creativity does
It's
not
just
live
squandered. Yeah.
in stolen moments. That's where creativity goes to die.
Die. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need big chunks, ladies, big chunks of time.
So in my own life and marriage, a huge part of our healing and me and my husband healing my relationship or our relationship was redistributing that load back to him. And not in like he wasn't like out there like, I do the manly work and you clean the kitchen. Like he was never like that, but we just really fell into these gender roles really fluidly. And it wasn't until I started my business that it was like such a huge wake up call for me to be like, oh my God, I am doing so much of the emotional labor in this family. Not that, he was actually cooks a lot of the dinners and he'll clean too.
He grocery shops too, right? Oh my God.
Yeah. I
Never heard of such a thing.
he's a pretty good husband.
Spectacular. Shout out to Jody McDaniel.
We love you, Jody.
We love you, Jody.
Yeah. He really is a caretaker and really does meet needs very well. But the emotional imbalance that we had of like me doing the mental labor was just like crazy. I had all of the things organized and he was just waiting on me to be like, well, what do I need to do? Tell me what to do. And like the whole tell me what to do, that energy is so draining to, I think, anybody, especially
anticipating needs is a real skill set
that has to be developed.
All men need to
develop. Exactly. Yeah. You hear that, man?
And I also want to just slide in here that we are seeing a shift in the paradigm for men. I call them the yin men, Y-I-N, this feminine energy. We are seeing a lot of men embodying this feminine, nurturing energy a lot more than we see from previous generations, like our parents and our grandparents. And I think we're both married to yin men.
For
Blair
sure.
and I.
Yeah. Yeah. When you look at my husband, you don't see feminine energy. He's like real muscular and like he's a construction worker and he just like really fits like the masculine archetype very well. But he is
But they're willing to blur those outmoded,
outdated
cultural norms, gender norms.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So excellent first little chunk of time there. Let's pivot a little bit and we'll get to these actual questions. So the first question, it is, how did you come to your path as an energy healer and how did you know that it was your path?
Well, I've got my story.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can succinctly tell it. I will.
This could
I
be
will.
the duration of the
Sure you
podcast.
will.
No,
folks.
here we
we
go.
can only get to 2 questions.
I always start this story with the line, a good healer, the best healers always had to heal themselves first, right? Like that's a really big archetype, that hero's journey. You have to leave the parents' home and you have to go out and experience hardship where you discover who you are, right? As an adult, not independent of the programming and the structure of your family. So your parents give you this structure, these value systems, and the hero's journey is going out and kind of going through your own hardships. So I was really sick for a few years. I had undiagnosed Lyme's disease. I had just had Gaia, my baby, and I had just resigned from my career to be a stay-at-home mom. And then I fell really ill one weekend and I didn't get better for 3 years and it sucked. And so for 3 years, I was pretty much homebound and found energy medicine organically in the pit of despair. And I honed in my gift and fine-tuned my gift because I didn't have any other options. Because I went to every Western medicine specialist, and I won't list them here because if you can think of it, I went to it. And they all said I was fine. I was fine.
Talk about medical gaslighting.
Right, you're fine. But I had about 60 to 90 minutes worth of energy in a day. And then that was all I had. And then I laid on the couch for the rest of the day. So I found energy medicine in my home, prone on the floor in the room that I called my moon room in my house, and eventually found my mentor who was a medical intuitive, and she healed me in 3 months and then asked me to be her apprentice. And then within 2 years, I created Gaia Heals and have been healing ever since. But it was a difficult path to get here for sure. And that was what we love to call the dark night of the soul. So if you're listening and you're in your dark night of the soul, don't lose hope. There is very much a powerful reason that you're there. It has to get really dark for you to dig deep and find your ultimate power. Because you're so much more powerful than you think you are. And it has to get really dark before it gets lighter.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
That's my story.
All right, Kim.
Well, so my path to energy medicine did not start with a physical illness. It was more of just this pattern of codependency and toxic relationships that I found myself in.
Snaps to all the codependents out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Liberate oneself.
So
Me and Kim is just alike.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my sister is Jennifer of Gaia Heals.
That's me.
And in the midst of
Just a couple of silly geese.
the worst relationship I had ever found myself in, she continued to try to pull me into this world and help me to find my power. And I would say it was like a thing that I would circle back to, and then I would go back to him, not being ready to leave that yet, not being ready to give that up. And then I would come back into the energy, these beautiful circles that she would hold, all the loving support there. And I knew deep in my soul, like I was getting there, but it was just a slow letting go. And then I was introduced to Blair, and I had a couple of sessions with her.
Oh, those are my favorite sessions. I love to talk about those sessions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into all that right now?
You want to?
Are we going to save that for the next one?
I'll save it for the next one. Let's
Okay.
save it for just like ours.
Cliffhanger.
Sorry, guys, you're going to have to tune in to hear about those sessions.
Yeah. So Blair really helped me root down into the power I had, and just knowing that, like, how beautiful life could be if I just let this go. And so now I am on the precipice of launching my energy medicine.
By the time this is
Business
going to come
here.
out, it's going to be
Oh
launched,
yeah, I
babe.
will.
It'll be
I will be out there.
full
So
blown.
Gonna have like 500 followers on Instagram.
yeah, check me out.
Check them out. Check her out, guys. Check her out. Support a local. Wait, y'all probably aren't local, but support an energy healer on the Instagram. Okay, so for me, I had this horrific origin story that started in this toxic religious expression of Christianity. I was Southern Baptist. For those of you who are Christians, that should strike a bit of fear into your soul, because those Southern Baptists, they just like got these rules for women.
We were concurrently in the Catholic sect of
Which
that.
actually, oddly enough, we were like enemies back in the day. The Catholics and the Southern Baptists, they were like, oh, those Catholics aren't actually Christians. They pray to Mary.
They don't know how to Jesus.
They don't get submersed in the baptismal pool. They sprinkle their children. So yeah, we were so judgy towards you
eat
guys.
the body.
Yeah, you all are eating
Yeah.
body and blood. And your
Family
beliefs.
Catholics believe
That
it
turns
is not
into body-
symbolic. It is literal.
I can't even with that. You guys are such
Wild.
weirdos. Yeah. Yeah, when I like heard about that, it's called transmogrification or what's it called? Anybody? They're bad Catholics, guys.
No, it was real
Oh,
bad
yeah.
Catholic. I didn't drink the Kool-Aid for a single moment.
I drank the Kool-Aid down so hard, but the
I
Baptist Kool-Aid, not the Catholic Kool-Aid.
I had a
So, yeah.
direct connection with God from the very beginning, and I said, you know what, Source?
Wow, good for freaking
I
you.
think they got it wrong.
She's freaking bragging over there in the corner. I was like, I'll do whatever it takes, God. Please don't send me to hell.
Yeah, I was crying every night in my bed at 8 years old.
Yeah, that's the kind of
Like, I'm going to
Catholicism I was
hell.
wanting. Okay, so Kim was the good Catholic. Jen was a heretic on all fronts. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, had this really intense experience in that church. And like I said, I was bought and sold. I was going to be a really good Christian, but then there were just facets of the Christian faith that could not fit into my soul. I love women. I came down a feminist. And the fact that I was not allowed to preach, I couldn't be a preacher. Like, get out of here. I could have been a better preacher than 98% of the preachers that I saw on stage. And yeah, like, I'm a talker.
You got the preacher vibe.
Oh, I
Yes.
do. You
You
guys, I
sure
should have been a
do.
maybe I should go back. Should I be a preacher?
You are a preacher.
Yeah.
I'm preaching to a new congregation now. The Informal Mystic Podcast listener congregation. How do y'all feel about being a congregation?
Hallelujah.
Get her
Hallelujah.
a pulpit.
Please give me a pulpit. Oh, please give me a pulpit. So yeah, like, what are you all doing? What kind of shit is that women can't teach and preach? And it's like based on like a sentence that they cherry picked from the New Testament that they're not following any of the other stuff. Like, they don't make me wear a head covering, but they make sure that I don't preach. They let me eat shellfish, but they make sure I don't preach. You know, it's like they just create this belief system based on, I don't know, whatever they feel like they want. And it's so control oriented and control based. And it's all built on this horrifying belief system that if you don't follow it, you'll go and burn eternally. Like, there's not a more depraved belief system than that the God of the universe, who is also the God of love, could just send you to hell for an eternity. That doesn't even make brain sense.
Control that creates for them to wield, and them being, we all know,
Yeah.
who is preaching, who is at the top. You know, they have a lot of power up there.
Yeah.
They've got to subjugate a lot of people.
Yeah. So yeah, I was part of that, and
That throat chakra.
I know, man, my throat chakra just, wilding out these days. Every time I get on this podcast, I'm like, well, that's the 79th throat clear I've got to edit out of this crap. Y'all aren't even hearing half of them because I'm editing them out. But yeah, so participated in that for a really long time, left it, found a really sort of social justice oriented Christianity to follow, and then came back. And then participated in ministry for a while, got real weird about it again. And I started studying the life of Jesus, which you'll never hear me badmouth Jesus, because Jesus is the reason I'm not a member of the church anymore. Jesus is the vibe. In fact, I'm still working with the Spirit of Jesus as like a guide energy because they have co-opted that man's life. They've co-opted it and they've turned it into something that he never intended for it to be. And so found Jesus, got really, really, really interested in studying the life of Jesus. And in that study, I was just like, it would be like my eyes would open a little more, then my eyes would open a little bit more, and then my eyes would open a little more. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this doesn't fit anymore. This doesn't fit anymore. This doesn't fit anymore. And meanwhile, as I'm like, just unraveling everything, my sweater's in a pile on the floor. I'm reading this book called Conversations with God. And it's a book by Neil Donald Walsh. And it is...
And very anti-religion.
Is it though?
Oh, yes. It
No.
debunks every religious dogma out there.
Okay, it definitely does that.
In a beautiful way.
But it's that non-duality that we were talking about a while ago where... the religious experience is okay. Like I don't have to judge it. And so it was this really gentle exit for me, because as I was unraveling it, I was replacing all of my belief systems with this non-duality. And like I couldn't really be mad at it because it was a system that got me beyond the system. And I was listening to a lot of Richard Rohr, who also has this beautiful non-dual way of interpreting Christianity. And I feel so grateful and so blessed that that's the way it was, because I exited the church and I wasn't angry at the church at all. I was grateful. I was really experiencing and living in that vibration of gratitude for that system that got me beyond the system. And we can go into more detail about that type of thing. I believe that you have to form an ego in order to kind of get separation from your ego. And I feel like that was my ego formation. And so when I left the church, it was January of 2020, and the timing couldn't have been better / worse. Talk about doing two things at once. It was amazing, because not only was I experiencing a complete meaning crisis, I also had to do it in the middle of a global pandemic while I was stuck at home. Like I couldn't escape from the discomfort. I couldn't leave my utter lack of meaning, right? Because for 30, I don't know how old I was, maybe 30, I don't know, 1 year, 2 years. I don't know when I left. Anyway, for all that time, my whole life, my meaning was make disciples of Jesus. Do the Great Commission. You just find people and you love them to Jesus, to use some like disgusting Christianese. You love them, aka judge them, right to Jesus. And so I was just sitting there staring into the abyss, and we have a global pandemic going on in the background. And I'm like, what is my meaning? What am I doing here? I can't do anything. There is no meaning. And then I found my way into this like just beautiful reality that if there really is no meaning, that means I get to choose my meaning. Right. And so I was like, okay. At first it felt hopeless, completely horrifyingly sad. And I just cried because it had no meaning. And because there is
night of the soul.
That was the darkest night of the soul. But even in the darkest night of the soul, it's like this most beautiful experience of your life. Like you get into that dark night of the soul and you're like, okay, this is it. And I almost feel like there's some part of the subconscious that's like, you're doing it. Keep doing it. Don't stop. And so experiencing this dark night of the soul, staring into the abyss of meaninglessness, realizing that I got to figure out my meaning, decide who I want to be. And so I was experiencing an ego birth. I was like literally reforming myself, reforming who I wanted to be, because I had just gone through ego death. And I sort of found my way back to spirit, even though it wasn't called Jesus or God or the Holy Spirit anymore. Mm-hmm. I've always been really connected to spirit, and even there, I found my way back to spirit, and I could still feel spirit talking to me. I was talking to like people who had passed away. I was talking to I miscarried a child. I was talking to that child. On an earlier podcast, I was kind of talking about my friend Daniela, her husband Terry, had this insane encounter with Terry. And then synchronicitously, step by step, I started my business, wanted to make business connections, and I met Jen. And Jen's like, come on to this thing. It'll be fun. And now I'm here. And it was fun, but it was just this dismantling of the way that reality worked and rebuilding something new. And I'm still dismantling it. And the thing about it is that I don't necessarily know if there is a built, like there's no done here. I'll continue to dismantle and rebuild and dismantle and rebuild. And maybe that's not even a good way to describe it. Maybe the best way to describe it is
you're not tearing down the house, but you're reevaluating each brick and deciding, I think this comes from conversations with God. You're going back and very intentionally looking at every brick and taking it out and saying, is this my programming and conditioning? Are these belief systems that were handed to me, or are these belief systems that I directly know to be true and pleasurable for me in this experience? Yeah. And so there's this discernment that you cultivate in yourself that gives you a very like sacral or, bodily, like yes or no. And yeah, wouldn't you say that's just the reality we live in, is that every single day we take a new brick down and say,
yeah. So then it just kind of becomes like, I'm not even doing the house thing. These bricks aren't even bricks. They're just like choices. Like I get to decide what I believe at any given moment on any given day. And that's the most exciting thing.
All the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's very expansive.
Yeah, super expansive. So yeah, that would be my path to energy medicine. I didn't really talk about the energy medicine part because it felt like I was building up to that for my whole life, and the right amount of synchronicity just kind of got me the rest of the way. So yeah, I was talking to my guys the whole time. I was just calling it the Holy Spirit. Yeah, me and my guys had a good laugh about that when I like actually met them. They were like, "Oh, we know." It was so funny to us. And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm glad you all enjoyed it. It's pretty rough on me down here, trying to be a submissive wife. I don't even know nothing about no submission. Never been submissive. Okay, question number 2: is energy healing a gift or an innate skill anyone can develop on their own? Is it a gift? Or is it innate?
That's a good question. Lots of people have that question.
It's innate.
That'll be the cry of my heart until I die. Anyone can do this if they desire.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's lots of soul contract energy that kind of comes into play where they're like, I won't be living a life like this. I'll be living a life like that. And so maybe there's like some installed blocks to this as a lifestyle. But I think our natural predisposition, who we are at the soul level, is connected and tapped in.
But what is our current culture's biggest obstacle in being able to access these extrasensory perceptions, which basically is what energy medicine is? You're able to tap into unseen things. So not the physical body, but the energy body. And for me, and you guys may have different answers, is this ability to be still.
Yeah, for sure.
To be quiet. So Blair and I specifically articulated instances in our lives, big significant blocks of time, where we were forced into these inactive parts of our lives, right? For me, it was illness illness is a time of inward energy focus. Wellness is a time for external energy focus. In a pandemic, we all were stuck in our homes for a few months.
What a
That
collective
is-
dark night of the soul there.
Right. And we saw a huge burst of extrasensory perception peeps jump on the map after the pandemic because we were all forced into that feminine energy, that internal energy focus. And so when I have people come up to me and ask, how'd you get good at this? How can I cultivate these skills within me? Absolutely, you can. Every single person on this planet is fully equipped, but you have to be quiet.
Absolutely.
Because these frequencies, these wisdoms that live beyond the five senses, they whisper. And they are only accessible through those intuitive skill sets that we have. And our world is super loud. It never stops. It's a cacophony all the time.
Yeah.
And so if you're not intentional, and if you're not intentional about significant blocks of time, you're just slowing down the process. I mean, I'm talking significant amounts of time.
I'm not talking about significant amount of time.
That would be a
She's
difference between
opinion.
our areas of comfort, our capacities for comfort.
Girl, I can meditate for hours. I just don't meditate for hours currently. But for me, like when I'm helping people get connected with the energy, a lot of times it's really this like intuition on the daily, like getting attuned to your guide connection as you're moving about your day too. So it definitely requires that stillness. It definitely requires knowing the flavor of that relationship, but then it's like picking it out of your day. So, yeah, you absolutely do need to meditate. You absolutely do have to have experiences with stillness. But if you aren't the kind of person who feels like they could meditate for hours at a time, don't feel like that's a block. Like that, you can still get it. You can still access it. You're just not going to have as much depth, or like there won't be as like much texture to that connection. So
yeah, let's shift that into saying inward energy focus.
Okay.
Because you can move. You can receive downloads and release densities in the body, which are healing yourself while you're exercising, while you're driving, walking, meditation. Yes, you do not have to be sitting still. So let me correct myself.
For sure.
It's
Yeah,
the inward
yeah.
energy focus.
I agree
You
with
don't
that. You do have to do that.
Keep the body still to do that.
And I think at first you have to build capacity to sit still in meditation. Like you can't force it, because then the energy of forcing it draws you out of
oh yeah,
that state that you're trying to get to.
yeah, you can't force crap.
No.
I hate that, but I don't know. Nothing that I force ever really works out very much. So
Yeah,
it's
you
like that
want softness
tightness.
in the body.
Yep. Yep. Softness.
You restrict the flow anytime you're trying to muscle something up to the surface.
Going back to manifesting again.
Oh, geez.
Circling back.
Check
We
that
talked
other
about
podcast.
manifestation last podcast. Okay. So yeah, the consensus among the three energy healers in the room is that it is inherent within all of us to be able to connect with energy, to be able to connect with the unified field of consciousness, with the quantum realm. You can do it if you desire, right? And I think that, well, I speak for myself. I don't speak for you two, but a huge part of my medicine is getting you there.
Can I add another layer?
Sure.
Real quick.
I wanted to too.
Okay, add layers. We need so many layers here, guys. Layer it up, sisters.
This is what we mean by healing also.
Okay.
Frequency. When we want to access these, what are we calling? What was the question originally asking? Like skill
Well, let's
sets?
see. Is energy healing a gift or an
So
innate
these
skill?
gifts, these are higher frequency skill sets because they're beyond the five senses, right? And so when we talk about our one-on-one energy healing sessions, we're talking about releasing densities out of the body, and we're freeing up your energy to vibrate at a higher frequency, which is where these gifts live, right? And so when you hear people talk about, well, I want to heal and I want to do this and I want to let go of this trauma and let go of this suppressed emotion, that's what we're talking about. Those things, those traumas and those emotions live in your body. They create a density in you and they lower your frequency. And so as we release those, you can do them organically yourself. You don't need us, but we can help walk you through that process. And then once you release those, then you more effortlessly also can tune into these gifts because your frequency is matching their frequency.
That's what we mean when we say clear your channel.
Yeah.
Right? You clear the blocks that are preventing you from that higher sensory or extra sensory perception.
Yeah.
So, what's your layer, Kim?
Well, it's very similar to what she said.
She stole your layer.
Yeah, she did.
Gotta be
I'm
quicker
just
than
going
that.
to do that right before Jen says something every time so I can be like, yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Echo that.
Okay, so I was going to say, like, our culture and religion disempowers us a lot. And if we're not aligned with our divine power, then we can't access these gifts. So that's a huge block, but that's kind of a piece of what Jen was saying.
Belief systems that live inside of us,
Yeah.
conditionings, these
That's what I was
religious
gonna say.
dogmas. They're like, you have to go through a
You
priest
need a
to
priest.
access
Yeah,
God's
that's crazy.
forgiveness.
You can't even pray for
and-
yourself. You got to get the priest absolution. That's one thing the Baptists did better than the Catholics. We never had a priest. We were always doing the shit ourselves. But what I was going to say, my biggest barrier, you said the barrier of stillness, but I was going to say the barrier of belief and conditioning, right? Like I have to talk my people into believing because I had to talk myself into believing. But there's so often it's like, well, what if I just made it up? I saw this, but what if I made it up? And I'm like, that's not even a thing. Like, just don't even put that on your radar. Like, you didn't make it up. The answer is yes, you did it. Good job. Congratulations.
Yeah.
There are universal laws, and faith is inherent in the success of this process. You have to have trust that your intuition is legit. And really, there's no such thing as imagination.
Yeah.
If quantum physics has taught us anything, that every possible scenario exists on another timeline. So imagination doesn't exist. It's literally you just tapping into other frequencies and other dimensions
dimensional
and
reality.
realms and timelines. And you just have to have faith. And the way intuition works, these gifts, is that you have to lean in and take those trust falls. And then so if you say the thing, like you, Blair, talk about when you're in session, you're doing a guide reading and a goat shows up with a bow tie on. You're like, geez, I have to say the goat. I have to tell this person that they have a goat spirit guide with a bow tie on. But if you don't say the thing, then it significantly restricts your access to your intuition. So my other piece of advice is say the thing. And so your aperture of this channel that opens up for you intuition, it just keeps getting wider and wider. So if you say the goat thing, you're going to get 2 hits on your next reading. You're going to get 3 hits until one day, like Blair articulated, you don't have to get in these meditative states.
You're just kind
to
of in flow all the
access.
time.
You live in these spaces. This is your reality. You have trust fallen so successfully, and the payoff is that you live in a reality where your intuition is your minute-to-minute experience.
Shoot, yeah. It's good vibes.
And it's a beautiful place to be in.
Oh, yeah,
Because then every decision you make in life is just a yes or a no.
Yeah.
And you know it to be right for you. You're standing in your truth. It's not
a
the
long
mind.
road. I'm still on that road in a
me
lot of
too.
ways. Yeah.
But
Old Jen over there, though.
oh man,
All of her yeses
on that
filled
pedestal.
out. We are not worthy. Oh my goodness. Okay. Is that one wrapped up?
I think so.
All right.
Put a bow on it.
What are ways
And a bow.
one can practice energy healing in their day-to-day life? We literally just answered that.
Yeah.
I would love to teach you.
Yeah.
I would love to teach you.
Come on
There
down
are
to LaGrange,
so many
Kentucky.
easy exercises and techniques. I mean, it's unreal how easy what we do is. There are a handful of meridians we can point out to you. There are 7 in-body chakras we can point out to you. There's a couple secondary. There's a few out-of-body chakras. And
Get
these
them
are just highlights.
Kundalinis.
Yeah, there's some
You got a
kundalinis
cord, you got a kundalini,
I
you
just
got a
love that
Christ
word.
consciousness.
And with these really easy and accessible exercises, you can run them while you're driving your car. You can run them while you're cooking dinner. If you pick the kids up from school and they're just hot little messes, you can run their meridians. You
Mine
can
literally
balance their
are
chakras.
always. I'm going
And
to call
will-
you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll pick my kids up from the bus. Please do the meridian thing. He's being so mean to me.
What time do you pick them up?
4 p.m.
Okay.
sharp. on the day.
3:45.
I'll
Run
start
them.
running meridians.
Please, yeah. When they get on the bus to come home, y'all got to get those meridians done because they don't want energy from me. I'll be like, baby, do you want mommy to give you
Auntie
energy
Jen
medicine?
is
They're like,
here.
no, mom. God, why would you ask a question like that? They think it's so lame that their mom does that. For real, like
so
if Silas
funny.
is sick, I'll be like, Sai, do you want me to give you energy medicine? And he's like, no, absolutely not. And I'll be like, well, what if I texted Jen? Would you want me to ask Jen if she would? Yeah, that'd be all right. What the heck?
Whoa.
Can't handle
Makes my
this.
auntie heart feel.
Well, there you go. Yep. Auntie Jen saving the day.
And so the last piece that I will say, because you look like you're about to move on.
No, I'm
Okay.
we're good. We can keep going.
We know that we have a physical body and that we have to exercise it for it to feel good, feel flexible, loose. We feel young, right? But we also have an energy body that also has to be exercised. But our culture has, we've forgotten all about that.
Yeah.
But our energy body creates our physical body. So if you start at the root of your ailments and you exercise those energy body aspects, then you're going to feel better physically. So these techniques that we can show you, it's like taking your energy body to the gym. So,
Sounds awful.
Workout.
but it's so much easier. You're cooking dinner and you're running meridians, right? That's
No.
like doing bicep
I don't
curls
really
at the
do
gym.
meridians that
or
much. She probably so disappointed. She's
I'm
gonna
a
take
little
down my
disappointed.
certification off the wall because I don't really do the meridian thing that much.
I used
Well,
to-
you can. There are other tools and techniques out there to strengthen your energy, but you know it does. The more energy you run through something, the stronger it gets, and the less susceptible it is to pathogens, to triggers. It's
Yeah.
and it's really easy to do. Don't have to, but
So I'll say, okay, if you have no earthly idea how anything that we're talking about right now about like exercising your energy body, there are still ways that you can access the energy body. So moving your actual physical body is working with your energy.
yeah, if you're doing yoga, especially yin yoga, you're working on the fascia and the connective tissue. That's the meridians.
If you're doing breath work, if
I
you're
was gonna
doing
say plug your breath work. That's moving a ton
Breath
of
work.
energy.
love that
Shoo-wee.
stuff.
Yeah, that breath work, man, that gets you.
Crying.
Energy is
Emoting.
crying is Yeah.
Emoting is a natural energy cleanser.
like ecstatic dance. And
Even talking. That's why talk therapy has been so popular in our culture. While I feel there's an added element that is still really required to really be ultimately successful in healing. Just I'm a little biased there with the
yeah, because we
medicine
like
part.
the energy medicine.
We love that aspect of it and we're sad when it's missing. But that's why that's so successful because when you talk things out, that throat chakra is working. You're clearing out all of this density in your throat chakra.
Yeah. So just because you don't necessarily have the tools right now, there are ways to do it. There are ways to do it. And if any of these things like kind of piqued your interest, you can get with me or Jen or Kim in the DMs, and we can kind of inform on some like specific ways for you to address your specific problem with an exercise. I just had a client yesterday, and her guide said, teach her a core flush, teach her a spinal flush. And so while there's lots of different types of flushes that I'll use in session, those are the two that her guides wanted her to take home. So yeah, get with us if it's confusing.
And pay attention when you're working with healers. Are they empowering you to learn the tools and techniques and not
Gatekeeping?
Yeah, gatekeeping. I think I speak for all three of us when we say, when you are in session with us, when you walk away, I'm always going to give you a few tools to use on your own. And if you work with me regularly, by the end of it, you will have an arsenal. And I jokingly say to nearly every client, one day you will wake up and it will be sooner than you think. And you'll say, I don't need Jen anymore.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
That's our dream come true.
It's our absolute dream.
The longer I do this, the more the more I understand that at the beginning, I'm doing a lot of the channeling and I'm pulling a lot of the energy in from these higher dimensional beings, this realm, these higher vibrational realms of reality, and I'm pulling them down to the 3D, and then I'm giving them to you for your ultimate healing. But I just had a client in session the other day, and I'm channeling for him while he's on the table. And then he just like took over. He's like, oh, I'm seeing a new guide. I've got this going on. I've got this going on. I've got this going on. It was a little jarring for me because I was like, wait, what? He was like, oh, who is that? And I was like, is there someone in my office? Oh my God. Like I thought I closed my blinds. And he was just meeting a new guide. He was meeting a new guide like in session. And when that happened, it was like, his guide team was like, he's got this, get out of the way. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it happened. It happened. The equipping process has taken place, and I am not a necessity. I'm just a benefit. Like I'm just like a guide that you can mirror with instead of like the one doing the medicine. So my dream for everyone is for you all to be getting your own downloads, for you all to be getting your own connections with guides, connections with higher self, and really allowing me to kind of pivot into this more background role of objective mirror, so that you can make progress on your journey, right? So yeah.
Love it.
Absolutely. Wow. Tools. Okay. Let's see here. Can energy medicine extend just beyond the physical and into the emotional and psychological? Energy medicine is the span of mind, body, and spirit. And so when you're doing any kind of energy medicine, you're doing every kind of 3D medicine.
So meta.
Oh yeah, stacked dimensional realities. All
it's metaphysics. Yeah, the emotions and the stored trauma are the energy that live in the body that wreak the havoc. Your physical body is the last one to know that something's up. When you get a physical symptom, you get an achy joint or you get diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, that is the last stop on the train ride. And your body's like, listen, shit's going down.
Babe, please pay attention to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, okay, you weren't doing that inward energy focus. So, illness is a time for inward energy focus. Wellness is a time for external energy focus. And we gave you a little leeway, but you didn't focus in. So
didn't stop at those yellow lights.
You did not. So now you have a physical ailment that's going to literally stop you in your tracks and make you sit at home.
Well, girl, you sort of seem like it's like a punishment over there. I'm feeling a little nervous. I'm like, great. My autoimmune disease is my fault.
Well, we designed it that way because we knew we were stubborn and we wouldn't listen. So we said, how do we really sit ourselves in a chair? Well, that meat suit's got to break down. Meat suit malfunction.
You have literally said meat suit like 72 times.
But that was the other podcast.
Oh, I was like, I don't remember that. Okay.
I don't know.
You said meat suit in this one too, though. I'm pretty sure.
I don't think I did.
All right. Well,
I don't know.
we'll see.
I'll
We'll
remember
see.
that.
We'll play it back, and we'll get the meat suit tally.
That's a good one.
At the end of the
good one.
session, or at the end of this podcast, you send me how many times she said meat suit, and I'll give you a little prize.
You get a
Send you
free.
a little informal mystic sticker. How about that?
And they're cute. You're gonna want
Yeah,
one.
DM me, and I'll literally send you a sticker if you tell me how many times she says meat suit. So for
Meat
me, oh, gee, she's racking the tally up, racking the tally up. For me, I had to really reframe it because I have always sort of been at odds with my body. And so my automatic perception with all things everywhere was punishment and this is your karma. You're getting punished because you've been bad. Mm-hmm. Because my version of God was that way for 30 something years. Mm-hmm. And so for me, my healing was really letting my body off the hook. Like, it's not trying to punish me. It's not trying to sideline me. It's just trying to talk to me. And I had to get really soft in the way that I would perceive my like autoimmune flares and my joint problems, and really like allow myself to integrate a little kindness into the way that I, dealt with my body, or like
I love that.
perceived it. So, I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm like always like that. Half the time I'm like, oh my God, quit hurting. Mm-hmm. But I want to be like, hey, what are you trying to tell me? Mm-hmm. Like, you're hurting right now. Is there some kind of message that you'd like to tell me? Mm-hmm. I know that I've taken the heat off for sure. And I know that even like if I manifest pain, like for instance, like right now, my SI joints are just killing me. I'm like carrying so much tension in my hips, and I have not really slowed down enough to understand energetically where that's coming from. But I know that it's not my body's fault. Mm-hmm. I know that it's just like my own inability at this moment in time. It's my own resistance to doing another layer of inner work. I actually feel I feel like I don't want to do that kind of inner work right now because I'm doing so much other inner work. Mm-hmm. And so when I can slow down, when I feel a little bit more like stable, I'll be able to go back and be like, hey, I know you're communicating with me, and I know I've kind of been ignoring it. Mm-hmm. And I'm ready to listen now. So, I've taken that heat off. I've taken that sting of like, well, my body hurts and I'm a really shitty person because of it. It's my fault. So
she's an ally. She's the best friend that says, honey, we can do that better. And if we do that better, you're going to have so much more fun in this life. Yeah.
I wonder your perception, Kim, because you have that same, like anxious codependency patterning. Mm-hmm. Wonder if have you ever felt like punished by your body or?
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to be in battles with it, like hate my body. And I said my spiritual path didn't include physical illness, but I have little things here and there that I am healing actively. But I think we talked about it earlier. Just like identifying the body as outside of you and,
identifying the body as out, like beyond you. You have to give your body,
give her an name.
External identity. Yeah.
Personify her.
Mm-hmm. And see
perfect
it as
segue to the best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And see it as just like this animal outside of you that's serving you and does so much for you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just having compassion for that and listening to its capacity instead of trying to push past it.
Because our culture loves for you to push past the capacity.
I mean,
That
let's
linear.
personalize it. I love to push past my capacity.
I hate to push past my capacity.
Homegirl don't want to push. I'm
I
pushing
wanna
her past her
flow
capacity.
all the time and be soft in my body.
Oh, I do too.
I'm literally like, Jen, you have to try this. You got to at least give it a try before you just don't do it. Okay.
Blair's capacity is scheduling 12 things in one day.
Maybe.
Uh-huh.
Maybe. I don't personally see what's wrong with that.
3.
My spirit animal is the turtle, and
Yeah,
I
Kim
fully
is-
embody that.
Kim is slow
Total
and
turtle
steady.
vibes.
Oh yeah.
Jen's spirit animal is the sloth.
I can go even slower than you.
But my spirit animal isn't some like cheetah or anything. I'm not.
Your
What is
bear
yours?
energy. Oh, she's so bear. Protective. And
So like fierceness, but I don't feel like
Fierce.
bears are fast. I personally don't feel fast. I feel pretty methodical and slow, but I have like just from my own life conditioning, I've conditioned myself to like push beyond my comfort zone. And that's good in some ways, right? Like it's good to be able to stretch just past your comfort level, but like when it's a self-abandonment, that's when it's dangerous. And so my capacity to like push beyond my comfort zone and then go a little further into this like self-abandonment, self-harm type energy, that's what we're talking about. And for Jen, I'm the one like, hey, girl, don't you want to get beyond your comfort zone a little bit? How about that comfort zone? It's looking awful comfy over there.
oh, okay.
And so, which I mean, you're not now, but girl, when you were, so she's working at this, this medical facility, and she was just hemming and hawing, and she didn't know if she wanted to do it.
Yes, great call out moment to me. I
And-
cried for 4 days.
Yeah, she cried for 4 days, which is, it's beautiful. Like cry it out. But I had to like, it was a phone call, so I didn't physically do this, but energetically I had to kind of like grab her shoulders and be like, girl, just give it a try. Just give it a little try for a little while. You can always change your mind. And it's turned out to be like the best. It's such a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Such a good fit for you. So
It
yeah.
was, the bigger the leap, the bigger the payoff is the archetype here. And that's what that was for me. So get out of those comfort zones. If you're listening, get out of those comfort zones, because on the other side of that discomfort and that vulnerability is really beautiful spaces that you ultimately want to be in. And they will catapult you to the next level and the next level and the next level. And then 10 years, you're going to look back and you're like, man, look where I am now.
Yeah, and your comfort zone will seem so silly. You're looking back on it, and I don't even think you've been a year there yet.
Been 9 months, 10
So
months. Yeah.
So you've been there for 10 months, and you're looking back at that like stretch of your comfort zone, and you're like, oh my God, I cried for 4 days, you guys.
Yeah. I'm laughing at it.
So yeah,
but
you don't have to go 10 years to like really see how quickly and rapidly you can integrate these new levels. Okay, but okay, so for her, that's the message. Push yourself beyond your comfort zone just a little bit. For me, don't push yourself so wildly beyond your comfort zone that you're torturing yourself.
And you get sick.
Yeah, you will get yourself sick. I do that all the time. I'm regularly, like, I'm still in my autoimmune stuff sometimes, not all the time. But I don't quite have it nailed. This tiptoeing out of the comfort zone and not jogging out of the comfort zone, sprinting like a 40-yard dash out of the comfort zone and into the wild blue yonder. And I, look up and I'm just like wildly unprepared and like incredibly uncomfortable. And part of it, I think, is just like my own soul contract energy. Like, I think I say it again because we said it in the last podcast, but I have a little bit of a flair for drama. Like, I like for things to feel intense. I like intensity. And so I'm probably always just going to be a little bit more like rough with my comfort zone and maybe a little bit rough with my body, and sort of like it that way. Like we were talking about existential kink, like maybe that's my existential kink. But it doesn't ever need to be like harmful to me. Like I can go a little slower. So yeah, you got yourself the options. If you're not a comfort zone person, maybe find a comfort zone. If you are a comfort zone person, push yourself out.
Where are you on that spectrum?
Kimberly.
Were you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Where are you
Well,
on that spectrum?
I consider myself to be healing from complex PTSD.
Okay.
And so I crave comfort zone right now.
Okay.
I crave rest.
You
So I
had
can-
yourself in some pretty dangerous situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back then, I guess I craved danger and,
What an
a part
interesting
of me.
evolution.
But now I'm just like, and I feel like a chrysalis mode.
And we just pulling you out of that comfort zone a little bit at a time.
I'm
Come on out, baby.
tiptoeing out.
Come on out,
pay
girl.
attention to that. That's a big shift that happens that we kind of get stuck and we ignore the shift that's on the precipice. Is we've been in that feminine energy, that chrysalis. And I'm not calling you out. I'm not so sure that you're there yet. But there is this point where you start to feel a little restless and you're like, I'm not getting as many downloads. I don't feel as connected. That means you're ready for some action.
Yeah.
Step back into
There's
the
a
light.
shift that's about to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to coach a lot of people through that process of, especially when we're dealing with chronic illness. The last and final stage of healing from chronic illness is convincing ourselves that we're ready to jump out into the world. That's hard. That's hard to do.
For sure. Yeah. It's difficult. All right, girl. So we've got really the spectrum. I mean, we really did embody all three ways of this comfort zone energy.
Yeah, look it
I
up.
don't even think that was the question.
Where did we start? What was that most recent question?
The
Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you.
Can energy medicine extend just beyond the physical into the
Oh,
emotional
okay.
and psychological?
Wow.
So yeah,
Well,
the
the labyrinth.
short answer is yes. And that is a wrap on part 1 of this 2-part episode series. If you want to find these gals to follow, you can find Jen on Instagram at Gaia_heals. And you can find Kim on Instagram as well at rootedalchemy.llc. And I'm Blair, the Informal Mystic. You can find me anywhere at Informal Mystic. You can also head to informalmystic.com to book your free quantum insight session and get to know what it's like to work with me, get to know what your energy pattern looks like, and get a game plan for how to use this medicine to improve your lived experience. Be sure to tune in next Friday for part 2 of this roundtable discussion, and I will see you there. Stay mystical.